Chapter 1. Critical Fail on Plane Shift. The chamber shuddered like a living thing. Blue fire crawled along the runes carved into the black stone floor, snaking toward the circle of sigils at the center. The air stank of ozone, dust, and necromancy.
High above, in a vault of darkness, shadows twisted and whispered around a figure, standing on a jagged balcony of bone. Your world is already dying, the Lich rasped. I simply intend to hurry it along to usefulness. Funny, Kael said, flexing his fingers around the grip of his bow. I was about to say the same thing about you. Kael Thorn looked like every tavern song tried to sound. Half elf, half trouble, leather armor patched a dozen times. Braided dark hair pulled back from green eyes that always seemed to be laughing at something. He knocked an arrow tipped with swirling silver energy, the mark of his arcane archer training, and sighted up toward the Lich's ribcage. Lyra, any bright ideas about the glowing apocalypse circle? He shouted over the humming crackle of the ritual. Lyra the tiefling sorcerer stood near the ritual circle. Crimson skin bathed in its sickly blue light. Her curling black horns framed her face, and her golden eyes narrowed as she studied the sigils. It is not an apocalypse circle, she snapped. It is a multi-dimensional planar focus, keyed to a power source I do not recognize, which is worse. If he finishes this, it will rip a hole in reality big enough to march an army through. Great, Kael said. Love the optimism. Across from them, Toren Blackshield planted his boots and raised his shield. The dwarf looked like someone had carved him out of a granite boulder and then given the boulder an axe. His beard was braided with small metal charms shaped like hammers and anvils, each one clinking softly as he moved. Less talk, more chop, Toren grunted. Seren, stay behind me. Liches get fire, ice, and bad attitudes. Seren Veilborn tightened her grip on her holy symbol, a sunburst medallion that glowed faintly in her hand. Peeman, tall and athletic, with short blonde hair plastered to her forehead by sweat, she wore mail and a tabard bearing the golden disk of her god. The light from it pushed back the oppressive bloom. Divine radiance. Shield us, she murmured, voice steady despite the madness around them. And please, if possible, let this not be the day we die in a bone tower. The Lich raised its staff. The gem at its tip burned with a cold, star-like light. You are already too late, it hissed. The conduit is open. Reality will bend. Not if I bend you first, Kael muttered, loosing his arrow. The shot flew true, a streak of silver and emerald power that punched into the Lich's chest. A burst of radiant flame tore through its ribcage, sending charred bone fragments spinning into the darkness. The Lich staggered, clutching at itself. Toren took off in a dwarf's version of a sprint, boots thudding, shield up, axe ready. Lyra spread her fingers and conjured a spray of crackling red energy that lashed at the runes, trying to unravel them. Seren lifted her symbol and called down a column of golden light that crashed into the Lich, burning through the necromantic energy around it. The ritual faltered. For one breath, then it went wrong. The blue flame at the circle's edge flared white and then black, color slipping in ways that made Kael's stomach twist. The sigils on the floor blurred and doubled, like they were being written on top of themselves in another language. The air tore open in the center of the circle, revealing not another realm, but a dizzying spiral of stars, lights, and impossible angles. Everyone out of the circle, Lyra shouted. On it! Kael grabbed her arm and yanked her back, just as the nearest rune exploded. Toren threw himself in front of Seren as a wave of force slammed into them. Their world became light and sound and the sensation of falling sideways. Kael lost hold of everything. His bow, his footing, his breath. The cold of the void wrapped around him. He heard Lyra cursing in a language that smelled like sulfur and lightning. He heard Toren roar and Serene's voice steady, even as reality broke apart. Radiance guide us, she called. The tower disintegrated. The stars rushed in. The circle imploded, taking them with it. Then there was nothing. Something was shouting. No, not shouting, honking. Kael frowned. His head hurt like he had tried to drink with dwarves for 3 nights in a row. He forced his eyes open. He was lying on his back on something hard and gritty. The sky above him was gray and full of smoke, but not the thick, magical haze of a battlefield. This was thinner, streaked with lines. He blinked. Overhead, strange metal cables crisscrossed between massive structures that rose up on either side of a narrow canyon of stone. Not stone. Glass and metal, stacked in perfect angles, with bright squares of light framed inside them. What in the 9 hells, Kael muttered. He sat up, groaning, and discovered he was in the middle of a road unlike any he had seen. Dark, smooth, with painted lines down the middle. Boxes of metal in all colors were lined up in 2 rows on either side. Some stationary, others moving, rumbling past with low growls. Wheels, but not pulled by horses. No horses at all. One of the moving metal boxes shrieked to a stop a few feet from him, its front shining like a polished breastplate. Behind the pane of glass, a wide-eyed man in a strange shirt was gesturing angrily and shouting words Kael did not understand. Kael scrambled to his feet, grabbing his bow on instinct. Right. Apologies. Terribly sorry. Just fell through a hole in reality. You know how it is. The man honked something at him again, then jerked the box to one side, narrowly avoiding a parked one, and sped around Kael, engine roaring. Others joined the chorus, horns blaring. Kael. Seren's voice cut through the noise. He turned. Seren was getting to her feet a few paces away, dust on her tabard but otherwise intact. Her holy symbol still glowed faintly, as though struggling to understand this new world. "Everyone alive?" she called. Lyra appeared from behind one of the metal boxes, brushing ash from her dark robes. Her tail flicked irritably, and the tips of her horns gleamed. "Define alive," she said. "My head is pounding, and I am surrounded by an architectural crime scene." Toren pushed open the door of one of the metal boxes from the inside and climbed out, scowling. "These things lock from the outside," he grumbled. "Why build a wagon you can trap yourself in?" He swung his axe onto his back and squinted up at the towering buildings. "We are definitely not in Torg anymore." They were standing in the middle of a city like no city any of them had ever seen. The street stretched in both directions, lined with those impossible glass-faced towers. Lights of every color blazed from signs written in sharp, blocky letters. People in strange clothes hurried along narrow sidewalks, staring, pointing small glowing rectangles at them. "Where are we?" Seren whispered. Myra slowly turned in a circle, golden eyes wide. "Every sense tells me this is a different plane entirely. The air hums with a kind of energy, but it is not pure magic. It is harnessed lightning, ordered into patterns, riding along those cables, powering those lights, those wagons." "That are wagons," Toren said, "with no horses." He thought that was a good idea. A shriek cut through the noise. Kael spun toward it. A woman on the far sidewalk pointed past him, face pale. He felt the rush of air before he heard the crash. Down the street, something large and armored plowed into one of the metal wagons, sending it spinning. People screamed and scattered. The thing straightened. It stood at least 9 feet tall, a metal suit with glowing red eyes and broad shoulders layered in plates. Its arms ended in barrels that whirred and clicked as they spun up. "Okay," Kael said. "That looks familiar. Evil giant metal thing. Finally something I understand." "Those are not crimson sigils," Lyra said, watching the glow in its chest. "Whatever power source it uses, it is not arcane. The art now, red, falls to the side. It's part of no light of any one." "Target acquired," a cold, mechanical voice blared. "Unidentified energy signatures. Eliminating."
"Right," Seren said. She stepped in front of the others, lifting her symbol. "Stay behind me. Toren, intercept. Kael, right flank."
"Lyra, destabilize whatever that is." "There we go," Toren said, green flashing under his beard. back to normal. The armored suit's arms spat light. Small projectiles of blazing energy shot toward them in a tight line. Seren thrust her holy symbol forward. Radiant Aegis. A shimmering dome of golden light sprang up around the party. The energy bolts hit it and splashed, scattering harmlessly. On the sidewalks, people gasped and stopped running, staring. Kael moved. He darted left, knocking an arrow and rolling behind one of the parked wagons. His boots squeaked slightly on the pavement. He peeked over the hood and loosed, infusing the arrow with seeking magic. It streaked toward the suit's glowing chest. This time the arrow hit with a burst of white light. The armored figure staggered, chest sparking. Damage detected, it intoned, adjusting. It swung one arm toward Kael. Toren slammed his shield into the ground, summoning the rune etched into its surface. Stone wall. A wall of solid rock burst up from the pavement in front of Kael. Energy bolts hammered into it, exploding in showers of gravel and cracked asphalt. Lyra lifted her hands, fingers weaving sigils in the air. Red lightning crackled between her palms. "Let us see how you handle real power," she hissed. Chaos bolt. The massive roiling magic screamed from her hands and slammed into the suit. The energy flickered around its limbs, surging along its joints. For a moment, the red eyes dimmed. The suit dropped to one knee, smoke rising from vents on its back. Kael vaulted over the wall, sprinting forward. "Toren, opening." "Now you are speaking my language," Toren said. He barreled forward, shield up, axe raised, and smashed into the suit's leg. The impact rang like a hammer on an anvil. The suit toppled sideways, crashing into the street, crushing a parked car beneath it. Glass exploded outward. People screamed again. Somewhere above, something whizzed past Kael's ear. A thin line of white webbing struck the suit's arm and yanked it back just as it started to rise. "Whoa! Row!" A voice called. "Big scary robot thing? And medieval cosplay squad? I miss one patrol and the whole city gets weird." Kael looked up. A figure in red and blue swung between the towering buildings on a line of webbing. The suit clung to his athletic form, patterned with a stylized black spider. Large white eyes on his mask narrowed as he swung to a stop, landing lightly on the crushed car, right next to the downed suit. He crouched, fingers splayed. "Hi," the newcomer said. "Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You guys from a convention? Or did Renaissance Fair get radioactive?" Kael blinked. "I am going to assume you are local?" "Mostly Queens, but I get around," Spider-Man replied. He glanced at Seren's glowing shield dome, then at Lyra's still crackling hands. Okay, magic. Cool. That tracks with the whole giant metal murder suit in Midtown thing. "Anyone want to tell me why Mr. Killbot here is throwing tantrums in traffic?" "We just got here," Seren said, lowering the barrier as the suit struggled weakly. "We woke up in the middle of this road. It attacked us. We defended ourselves. We do not know where we are." Spider-Man tilted his head. "New York City. Earth. Third planet from the sun. Land of pizza and bad subway delays. Ring any bells?" "Earth," Lyra repeated slowly. She rolled the unfamiliar word in her mouth. "No, this is not one of the known planes." "Great," Spider-Man said. "So we have off-worlders." Again, the suit's chest light flared. It grabbed Toren with surprising speed, metal fingers crushing into the dwarf's armor. Toren grunted as his feet left the ground. "Priority target identified," the suit said. "Magic disruptor."
"Neutralizing. Bad idea, Metal Man," Toren growled. Before Kael could move, Spider-Man did.
White web shot from his wrists, wrapping around the suit's arm and yanking it sideways. "Okay, RoboCop. Hands off the dwarf," Spidey said. "He is not on the menu." The sudden pull toward Toren free. He crashed to the pavement with a heavy clang. Seren rushed forward, light already gathering around her hands. "Blessed radiance, mend his wounds," she said. pressing a glowing palm to Toren's shoulder. Pain eased from his face. Lyra planted her feet, eyes blazing, and raised both hands high. "I grow tired of this toy," she snarled. Thunder burst. A sphere of compressed air and sound whipped into existence in front of her and shot toward the suit. It mated with the deafening boom, the shockwave rippling through the street. Windows shattered in nearby buildings. The suit's chest plate caved inward with a crunch, arcs of blue-white energy spilling out. Core integrity compromised. It croaked. Shutting down. It collapsed, smoking, into the broken asphalt. For a long moment, the only sounds were frightened murmurs, the ticking of cooling metal, and the distant wail of approaching sirens. Then, applause broke out. Kael turned in surprise. People who had been hiding in doorways and behind cars now stepped out, clapping, cheering, some holding up small glowing rectangles pointed at them. "They're recording us," Seren said quietly. "Is that bad?" Toren asked. "In some kingdoms," Kael said. "Depends who is watching." Spider-Man flipped off the crashed car and landed near them. "Okay," he said. "Nice work, team. Love the glowing shield. Big fan of the thunder spell. And the arrow thing was very Legolas meets laser tag. But we should not be standing in the middle of the street when the cops show up. I am already kinda on there. Why is this kid always in the crime scenes list?" He pointed to a rooftop. "Can you guys jump that high?" Toren looked up at the 3-story climb. "No," Lyra smirked. "We have options." She snapped her fingers, speaking a quick incantation. Purple energy swirled around her feet, then surged up like a geyser, lifting her into the air. She floated above them, cloak billowing dramatically. "Show off," Kael muttered. He bent his knees, invoked a trace of air elemental energy that his ranger training had awakened, and sprang up, catching the edge of a nearby fire escape and hauling himself onto it. Seren touched Toren's shoulder. "Hold on." Golden light flared around them. For a moment they were weightless. Then they rose smoothly into the air, carried by a column of radiant force, landing carefully on the rooftop Spider-Man indicated. The hero followed, zipping up on a web line. They gathered near the edge of the roof, looking down as black and white cars with flashing lights pulled up around the collapsed suit. People in uniforms poured out, shouting to each other, corralling curious onlookers. Some pointed upward. Kael sighed. "So, new plane, new laws, new grumpy people with authority. Some things are constant." "Okay," Spider-Man said, hands on his hips. "Cliff Notes time. You guys clearly do magic, like the Shiny Wizard Brigade from upstate. You are also radiating totally unfamiliar energy, which, in our experience, means either cosmic horror or someone Doctor Strange needs to look at before reality gets another hole punched in it." "Doctor Strange," Seren repeated. "Yeah, cape, goatee, really intense eyebrows. He does the magic protection thing. If you are from another dimension, he will know what to do." Lyra's eyes lit up. "A local archmage. That is at least one comforting constant." Spider-Man pointed 2 fingers to his mask where his temple would be. "I am going to give him a call. Please do not jump off the roof or start any other boss fights while I am gone." He took a few steps back, then leapt off the roof. Seren gasped and lunged forward, while Kael grabbed her arm. "Wait." A moment later, a web line shot up past the edge. Spider-Man swung out of sight, whooping as he went. "He is very confident," Seren said. "Or very stupid," Toren added. Kael looked out over the city. From up here, New York was a maze of steel and glass and light. The wind carried smells of smoke, oil, something frying in grease, and a dozen other unfamiliar scents. Far off, he saw a tower with a giant letter A shining near its crown. "Look at that," he murmured, pointing. Lyra followed his gaze. A single letter as a sigil, displayed proudly on the tallest tower. Either the owner has an ego problem, or that is a symbol of some powerful order. A4, ancient order, Seren guessed. Arrogant rich person, Toren said dryly. Kael's lips twitched. Both seemed possible. The smile faded as the reality of their situation settled over him. They were alone in a world they did not understand, surrounded by forces they could not yet see. Their gods, their friends, their enemies, everything they knew were on another plane. "You all right?" Seren asked softly. "I have had worse days. There was that time with the beholder and the cursed cheese. But this is up there. We will find a way back," she said. "If there is a way in, there must be a way out. That is how gates work." "Unless the gate was a one-way sacrifice ritual intended to turn us into fuel," Lyra said. Seren gave her a look. Lyra lifted her hands. "What?" "I am being realistic." Toren sank onto a rooftop vent with a grunt. The metal groaned under his weight. "You know," he said, "I was planning to retire after this job. Buy a small forge, make horseshoes in a quiet village, maybe find a nice dwarf lass who tolerates my snoring. Instead, I am in a city of glass towers and metal wagons with a boy in a spider suit. Life is funny." Kael sat beside him. "You get bored easily anyway." Toren snorted. "True." Golden light flickered at the edge of the rooftop. Lyra straightened. "Do you feel that?" Seren did. A ripple in the invisible fabric around them, a tug of arcane gravity. She turned toward the source. A circle of fire traced itself in the air like a drawn line of sparks. It spun, shedding embers that faded before they touched the rooftop. Within the circle, the view of the city warped, replaced by a glimpse of a dim, ornate hall filled with relics and hanging banners. A man stepped in. He wore a dark, high-collared cloak that flowed behind him like it had thoughts of its own. Red on the inside, lined with subtle sigils. His goatee was trimmed with precision. A small, intricate amulet in the shape of an eye hung at his chest. His gaze immediately went to Lyra's glowing hands, then Seren's holy symbol, then the faint light still shimmering on the rooftop where her shield had been. "Spider-Man was not exaggerating," he said. "You do not belong to this reality." "Dr. Strange, I presume," Lyra said. She inclined her head. "Lyra Emberwind, student of the unseen arts. These are my companions. Kael Thorin, ranger. Toren Blackshield, warrior. Seren Veilborn, cleric of the Sun Radiant." Kael raised a hand in an awkward half-wave. "Hi." Strange studied them, eyes distant for a moment, as if you were reading something only he could see. "You are surrounded by a unique signature," he said slowly. "Not from any known dimension in our multiverse catalog. And the magic, it is structured, but in a way that does not map onto our standard arcane framework. Fascinating." "Multiverse," Toren repeated. "So there are more than just planes here." "Think of it as many, many planes," Strange said. "Some more dangerous than others. You, unfortunately, seem to have fallen from an uncharted one, through an unstable portal. The residue is still clinging to you." Lyra's brow furrowed. "Can you send us back?" Strange's expression did something complicated. Not quite regret. Careful honesty. "I do not know yet," he said. "But I intend to try. In the meantime, you are a potential threat to the stability of this universe, simply by being here. Your presence is loud. It will attract attention, the wrong kind." Kael frowned. "We did not ask to be thrown here." "I know," Strange said. He stepped aside and gestured toward the glowing circle behind him. "All the more reason to get you out of public view. Come with me to the Sanctum Sanctorum. It is safer there, and I can examine the magical residue more closely." Seren glanced at the others. "Well," she said, "following a mysterious mage through a glowing portal has never gone badly for us before." Kael looked at her. She sighed. "Fine. It has gone badly before. Many times. But staying here seems worse." Toren pushed himself to his feet with a grunt. At least his portal looks cleaner than the Lich. Lyra studied Strange. You are not undead. Your aura is anchored, and your cloak radiates more personality than malice. I vote we trust him. For now. Kael nodded. Lead the way, Doctor. Strange dipped his head slightly, then turned. He walked through the portal. On the other side, Kael saw stone floors, shelves of ancient books, artifacts emitting soft glows, and a sense of contained power. A place of studying magic, not abusing it. Seren took a breath. Radiant One, guide our steps, she whispered, and stepped through the burning circle. Toren followed, muttering something about never getting his quiet forge. Lyra glided in next, tail swaying. Kael was last. As he stepped through, the city vanished behind him like a dream. The air in the sanctum was cool and still. The portal snapped shut with a small hiss. Strange turned to face them fully, the cloak settling around his shoulders. Welcome to Earth, he said. Or more precisely, to one of its more complicated neighborhoods. You have arrived at a very delicate moment in this universe's history, and something tells me your arrival is not random. Kael exchanged a look with Seren. Funny, he said. We were thinking the same thing. Strange's eyes narrowed just slightly. Let us find out why you were here, he said. In the shadows between the shelves, something like a ripple in the air passed unnoticed, as if reality itself were listening.